Hi, ladies, and welcome back to Sitting with Sisters for the Sisters Alliance page. My name is Mariah, and today for the August edition, I'll be sitting down with Halle Simpson. She is a small business and executive coach under her name, and I'll just let her go ahead and introduce herself.
Well, hi, everybody. I'm Halle Simpson. Like Mariah said, I have a background in leadership development and sales and have been a small business owner for all but 3 years of my life and do one-on-one coaching with small business owners and executives. And I do some keynote speaking and workshops as well. But I love what I do, and I'm just honored to be here today. So thanks, Mariah, for the introduction.
Mm-hmm. So, like she said, she's a small business coach. So we're going to get into some questions, and she's going to give us some tips on how to deal with being a small business owner. So just to start off, what are some of the most common assumptions you see people making when running their business?
So I work with business owners at a variety of different stages. There are some who are brand new. They're launching a business for the first time. There's others who are seasoned entrepreneurs and they're new, they're early on in a new business, and others who have been running a business for 5 to 15 years. And one thing that I have found is that oftentimes people have ideas about ways they think they should do things as a business owner. And it might be something that they watched a parent do who was a business owner or a friend do, and it may not relate to their business at all. It may not relate to how they are wired at all. And so oftentimes people are doing things that it does, I mean, just plainly, it makes no sense why they're doing it. And so they need to really identify and be willing to admit what isn't working, and then get creative about the different ways that they could solve that problem, and think outside the box. I think one author that I admire and I am in awe of how he handles things is Tim Ferriss, the author of the 4-Hour Work Week, and the ways he gets creative to delegate and take things off of his plate and to just get things done in a way that it doesn't all have to be done by him is really a great model. And it's something that a lot of small business owners can find benefit in, just getting creative about how things are accomplished and not be afraid to do it differently than other people are doing it.
Okay. And then just like piggybacking off that question, what would you say for people who often make these assumptions, and how do you switch something that you've been doing for so long or you've seen someone doing? Like, how do you find what will work? Because everyone doesn't have time for trial and error 5 million times. So how would you suggest they move forward?
Yeah, good question. So you're right. We don't have time for trial and error 5 million times, but sometimes we need to make time for trial and error 2 or 3 different times.
Yeah.
There's 2 phrases that I will say from time to time that are direct Dr. Phil quotes. And one of them is, how's that working for you? I had a client recently who was talking about how he was always having to fix problems that his employees weren't willing to fix. And I said, well, what would they do if you weren't there to fix it? And he said, oh, then they'd probably have to call like the service line for the product that we're using. They'd probably have to Google some things. They'd probably have to, he became very aware that he was teaching them to call him, and he got stuck, and that he would fix it. Yeah. And because he had that awareness, he was then able to go, all right, when they call me, I'm going to put it back on them and say, okay, I'm going to need you to call this number and watch this video and try to solve it by yourself, so that in the future, you don't have to rely on me. You can get it done.
Okay. And then our second question is, why is it important to know yourself, especially one's strengths and weaknesses when starting a business?
Well, that can, as a business owner, many times people have a vision of themselves running a business. And there is this sort of fantasy, that they're picturing. And it's not uncommon then for people to find themselves in the weeds and feeling like the business is running them.
Yeah.
And there are going to be some uh, like let's say somebody who's a numbers person who comes from a background of accounting, they might really like to be in charge of doing the invoicing, and they might like to run the reports and really make sure that they do all the bookkeeping themselves because those numbers tell themselves a story. But the business development, they want somebody else to do that because they don't enjoy meeting new people. They don't enjoy, okay. And so if people know that about themselves, then they understand what jobs in their business will give them energy and bring them joy, and what jobs they need to hire out to do.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, somebody who comes from a background of sales and business development might be the one, they need to be involved in all the networking things. They need to be on a board. They need to be a part of their chamber. And they need to find a really good accountant to take care of all the bookkeeping and the numbers and just to explain the reports to them so that they understand what the numbers mean in their business. So knowing yourself helps you basically with your organizational chart. Who's doing what? Who do you need to hire? What contractors and vendors do you need to have on your team? And what are the job responsibilities that you want to do because they bring you joy and it's why you started your business?
100%. I think that even goes with like being in school when you're in a group project. Someone assigns you all of these positions, and it's like, well, I don't really like that. And the project turns out terrible.
Yeah, right,
Like,
right.
just swap these two people, it might have been 10 times better. Okay. And then I know that we talked a little bit prior to this about your journal. So if you want to go ahead and talk a little bit about that to let the ladies know what you going to be coming out with soon.
Sure. So I am getting down to wrapping this up, authoring a journal. It is not uncommon in my one-on-one individual coaching conversations for people sometimes just to stop and go, I don't think I know who I am at this season of life. They've gotten so far off track that remembering who they are is challenging. And I was at a conference a few years ago and heard somebody share about this study that Cornell University did. And Cornell University wanted to determine what the greatest predictor of executive success was. So they studied 72 different executives from companies ranging from 50 million to $5 billion annually. And what came back was that the number one greatest predictor of success for executives was self-awareness. Those executives and people in leadership who are more self-aware are more successful. And many times people come to me as a coach because they have a problem they want to solve. They have a situation that needs to get better. And part of what I help people do is get in touch with themselves. Because as you've heard the term, give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach a man to fish, feed him for his life. And if I can teach somebody what to do and to solve that problem, I've only helped them during that problem. But if I can remind them of who they are, all of a sudden it becomes very clear to them of how that problem needs to be solved. So not everybody I run into is able to afford or might be in a season where they need a one-on-one coach. But I wanted to provide a tool that could help learning with my clients that I'm working with, and also a tool that people could do some coaching for themselves. So I'm coming out with the Know Thyself Journal, and it's a 90 entry journal that allows people to have some daily time just to connect with themselves, to be quiet in their own mind, and to record things like a quiet time or meditation that they might do, to write down and record affirmations about who they are and goals that they want to achieve for that year. A gratitude piece. The gratitude is a powerful tool, and people who practice gratitude are generally more joyful and happy and see different things. And so, and then there's a couple other things. There's a different question every single day for people to ask themselves just to get to know themselves. We oftentimes know many things about other people, but when relationships are built by spending quality time with people, and many times people don't spend quality time with themselves.
So true. I have a lot of my friends are going stir crazy right now because they can't leave their house. And they're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And I'm like, what do you like to do? And they're like, I don't really know. Like, what do you like to do? And I'm like, well, I like to read. I like to, like, I know and I'm just like, what do you enjoy doing? And they're like, I enjoy hanging out with my friends. And I'm just like, well, what do you by yourself enjoy doing? And they're like, I don't really know. And I'm just like, well, you should probably figure that out.
Yeah. We live in such a noisy society between TV and media and advertising and phones and social media and dings and all of this. And our brains are on overdrive. And that's oftentimes why we're seeing the anxiety that we're seeing. People can be it feels very uncomfortable to sit in a room by yourself without some technology, without something to distract you. But yet 20 years ago, 40 years ago, our lives weren't that way. And we didn't have the anxiety that we have now. And so there is power in silence and in quietness and in going inside and just learning and being kind to yourself and learning how you're wired. So I'm really excited about this tool. I think it can be extremely powerful. And it's something that I've been using myself for the last year and a half. And I crave my time every morning to sit down and take 20, 30 minutes and just write.
Is it more aimed towards business or like people's personal lives?
You know, where I coach people is in the space where their work and their life intersects. So it is very much to be used for both. I write sometimes if I have more business stuff on in my mind, I will write, business goals, business affirmations. But then my quiet time is very much about personally, what's going on with me. So it can be used either. And it's a tool that once you use it once, you can get another one and use it again. And some people might use one in a year, and some people might use 3 or 4 in a year. But most people, the idea of sitting down with a blank piece of paper and journaling scares the crap out of them. But if they have a structure and a guide to follow, then it makes it more user friendly. So that's the whole point.
Okay, well, congratulations. When does this come out? Do you know?
So we will be going to print probably in September sometime. So my website is www.hallesimpson.com, HALLE Simpson.com. And it will be available on there probably mid-September.
Okay, cool. And then if any of the ladies wanted to get business coaching, I know you just listed your website. How would they, first of all, get in contact? Is it going through your website or email or social media? And then what would you say like your most predominant services, or like what do you like what are your areas of expertise, I guess?
Okay. So the one-on-one coaching, yes, you can go through my website. There is a contact form there. And actually, I'm getting this set up right now. But if you go to my website, there's a little pop-up box. And in that pop-up box, I share with people the first coaching tool that I ever learned. And it's a tool that allows you to kind of coach yourself in a variety of situations. So that's like a little value that is there for people. But then you can go to the contact form and select interest in a complimentary 30-minute discovery session. And we'll have a phone call just to learn a little bit more about what's on the mind and see if it would be a win-win to work with each other. Some common things that bring people to coaching can be I'm working 80 to 100 hours a week and I have no time and space for my family. Things are out of balance. It can be just stress, that there's a stress of a never-ending to-do list and kind of feels like you're maybe treading water and the water is like rising and you're about to drown. I do have people that come to me where they're very happy in their business, but they want to grow. They're ready for to take giant steps and they want to scale, they want to grow, and they know they need somebody to help them with a plan. And they also know they need accountability and they need, to find some courage to step out and do some things that they've never done before that might be scary. Mm-hmm. So it can run the gamut of people who are stuck, people who are needing to develop some systems to de-stress their life, to make their business run without them there, and then also to scale and really grow.
Okay. Well, sounds good. Again, ladies, this is Halle Simpson. I'll have her description, website, all of that information where you can reach her in the description. I'll write a little piece on you. So yeah, thank you for taking the time to sit down with me.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been fun.